2025 AWS service with the illustrious, amazing AWS hero, Peter Sankauskas. Peter,
Hi, everyone.
thanks for coming back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Per our conversation, this is the third AWS survey that we are launching. So you went live with the new survey today, right?
Correct. I launched it at 8 o'clock this morning, Pacific time.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And hold on, let me switch to talking head mode. There we go. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. Before we do that, get in on the conversation. If you are in the live studio audience, we are paying attention. We are on the YouTube chat. We are on the LinkedIn chat. We are in Bluesky. We are on Threads. We're in all the places. And if you hashtag vBrownBag, we will be paying attention. We will pass on your questions to Mr. Peter. There's not going to be a ton of questions tonight because everybody should be taking the survey while we're talking about it. Right, Peter?
Absolutely. But that's only 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay. So let us chat. Damien, how you been?
Howdy. I'm good. I am excellent. In fact, I started my new job at the beginning of the year. I'm very excited.
I was going to wonder if you're going to talk about it. How's it going? Do you want to say the name? Do you want to say what you're doing?
Yeah. So I'm working as a tech marketing manager for Platform 9. They have a private cloud offering that combines Kubernetes and OpenStack into one self-service thing, and it is a very slick product. And this is not a paid plug at all. I'm just telling y'all what I do.
If you didn't, like, you wouldn't be working there. So we can't.
Yes, it's really great, and I'm excited because I feel like this is a really great opportunity for me to get back into writing code and working closer with product and engineering and helping.
Wait, you said marketing? You're writing code?
Technical marketing.
Technical marketing. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah, a little bit different. Yep. Like, my goal is to be as knowledgeable about the product as engineering is, but being able to talk about it in a way that it does the business value, does all those great things. So I'm really excited about it. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
You know what's really funny?
What's that?
A lot of the vBrownBag host alumni get into technical marketing. They're good at the wrench turning, but they're also good at talking to people, asking questions, putting pretty words together in a cohesive sentence. And so a lot, Ruddy got into technical marketing. A number of people did, I think. All right. So this is the episode for the AWS Survey 2025. Peter Sankauskas, AWS hero. What is the AWS Survey? Why did you get into it?
Yeah, sure. So it was reInvent 3 years ago where I was talking to some of the other community members and asking if they had any way of knowing what the most popular services were, whether things were trending up or down. And folks pointed me at the State of Serverless report that Datadog had done. But other than that, there really wasn't a lot in the way of like getting this information. And for a number of years, I've been looking at the State of JavaScript report and all their beautiful charts and data. I'm like, I'm using that to be able to tell if React is, just a fad, or is it going to be the next like stable framework? And I'm using that to actually make decisions that are going to be lasting decisions because they're going to be implemented at some company. And so I wanted something like that for AWS because I had friends that were starting new things and saying, I think I'm just going to use Elastic Beanstalk. I'm like, I wish I had some data that said that's not the up and coming trendy service to use. And so I, at reInvent, decided that I was just going to do this. And so put together, the initial one was on a Google form. Just fill it out, and I copied the same sort of question style that is used in the State of the JavaScript report, and I actually reached out to the guy that created that and talked about what I wanted to do. But for AWS, he's like, well, if you need any help, like let me know. Here's some pointers and that sort of thing. And so when I got around to releasing it, I released the data. And of course, when you release the data for the first year, you don't have trends. You just have one data point.
Right.
And so the second year, I was really excited to do it again because now I'm starting to get trends to see if service is going up or down. And I'm measuring 4 different things at the highest level. So the first one is your usage numbers. So are people using the service or not? Second one is retention, to say how much people would continue using that service, which ones wouldn't continue using that service. Awareness is measuring, I have an understanding that this service exists, but I haven't yet used it. And so the last one is interest, meaning that I know that this service exists. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but I'm interested in learning it. And so they're the 4 broad categories that I'm looking at. And you can click on any of the infrastructure as code, CI/CD, like things on the left there to have an example of what this looks like. And so I broke it down into different categories to measure different services against each other. And then at the bottom of that, I also had a positive and negative split to see how much people love or hate the various services. So like, here's where we're starting to get the trends. And then just underneath that is where you're getting the positive negative splits. So if it's red, people are generally negative about a service, or at least not interested in it. And if it's more on the cyan side, particularly the darker side, it's people that are really interested in it and would use it again. And so it just gives you this nice little breakdown to see how different services are trending. So I put it together, and this is the 3rd year that we're doing it.
Huzzah! And
Huzzah!
were there any interesting trends that you saw as a change between? Well, actually, I have so many questions. What angle do you want to tackle this from, Peter? Because what I want to know is what surprised you, what kind of trends you've seen. And Shala's in the audience, and she's not actually on camera. What the heck, Shala? That's for shame. Shala is another one of our co-hosts, Peter. You met her last year. Yeah, and
I think so. Yes.
She has actually work to do today.
She is buried in Terraform work of all things, and so she was unable to join us this evening. But she showed up in the audience.
But you know what? I think she'd be a great person to take the survey while she's here.
You know what? That's a fantastic idea. Shala, while you are here, feel free to jump onto answersforaws.com/survey and take the survey. We're going to try to get as many of our viewers to do it as possible, and we will also spam out the links afterwards when we publish the video and put it in the show notes so that people can just jump over to it and take it straight away and see some information. Look at this. Artificial intelligence and machine learning.
See it.
Oh, you know what? That actually brings me up to a question. New services that come up, like how are you dealing with it? Is that what this is right here?
Exactly. That's one. There's 2 examples of new services that got added
Bedrock,
that year. So exactly. Hard to believe. OpenAI was brand new to the service or to the survey. 2024. It was mentioned in the 2023 as because I have a section in each category that is other options that weren't listed here. OpenAI was listed maybe 2 or 3 times in 2023. My gosh, things change fast.
Isn't it crazy?
Wow. Yeah. So and then this will be the first year that I'll have services retiring as well.
That's right. Retiring? Yeah. Because we have 7 services that are going the way of the dodo.
Yeah. So under the CI/CD category, CodeStar was end of life in July. So that's the first one that was removed from the list. And based on feedback that I got, I've also added in another third-party one into the CI/CD area for Harness, because I hear a little bit more and more about Harness from time to time. So I'm like, all right, let's go and add it to the list.
And
what's interesting about
was also deprecated. Was it the entire CodeStar line, or was it just? I mean, because Code Commit is definitely deprecated as well.
Oh, I'll need to maybe change what I did for that one as well. I didn't pick up on that one.
I will get you the list that I was sent, Peter,
All
so
right.
that you have
Excellent.
the 7 that I know about.
Yeah. Yeah, what's interesting about the CI/CD category is that GitHub Actions and Jenkins kind of tied there for usage
Yeah.
last year. That's impressive that Jenkins has stuck around for so long. If you if you go back up to the top of that and then change it from usage to retention, though, you'll see Jenkins drop down quite a bit.
Am I doing it wrong?
I don't know. Hit reload should work.
Yeah, those buttons weren't working for me either, and I just
there we go.
figured it was a me problem.
Reload works.
Great.
Oh, gotcha.
Reload works, but clicky does not work.
Interesting. What?
Feature request issue.
Oh, I wonder what's going on there. That was working, typical demo gods thing.
Yeah,
that was
it
working beautifully before.
We did not sacrifice the appropriate porcelains.
We didn't. But yeah, the retention of Jenkins is quite a bit down, whereas GitHub Actions is even higher. So if we were going to make a prediction for what's going to have, like the results of the 2025 survey are going to tell us, GitHub Actions should be pulling ahead as a clear leader from this.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
Which isn't
The
super
CI/CD
surprising.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that the CI/CD category doesn't really seem to be innovating a whole lot. Like Circle CI, call me crazy, but I would almost consider them in maintenance mode at this point. Like, what are they doing to push CI/CD forward, create new ways of doing things? GitLab has some interesting things that GitHub Actions doesn't have, like manual workflow, like steps. But other than that, like most people go over and use GitHub Actions anyway. So I don't know. I don't know how much change is going to happen in the CI/CD space other than Jenkins slowly coming down a little as GitHub Actions takes dominance.
It'll definitely be interesting to see the results from 2025 as well now. So how long is the survey? How long do you leave the survey open? And
1 month. Yeah. So
Okay.
January 15 to February 15.
Okay. So on February 16th, we'll be able to see the results of the 2025 survey then too.
That would be, in a perfect world, yes. But I am the human that needs to then like collate all of the results, make sure that you don't need to sign up for an account to take this survey. And so when I've got the results in, I want to make sure that there weren't bots that spammed it or anything sort of funky that went on. And so
has that happened?
The results.
Have you been jumped on by some fanboys?
I have been jumped on by some fanboys, yes. Not to the point where they had a bunch of bots, but it was certainly a lot of responses from a small set of users. And then like, that I don't need to count this multiple times.
Gotcha.
So there's some cleanup that needs to happen based on the results, and then I post the results. So the results usually come out within a week or two.
Nice. Cool.
Believe it or not, running this survey isn't my full-time job.
What?
I know.
Peter, how do we want to do this? Yeah. Do we want to throw Damien to the wolves and have him do the survey?
We can jump straight into that, or we can go through some of the categories and try and make predictions for what's going to happen with the survey. So the infrastructure as code one. Based on your feedback, I have split out Terraform and OpenTofu into 2 separate questions.
Okay.
So they won't be commingled in the results this year. I also added Crossplane and Winglang as 2 other options. So we'll have some new stuff in the infrastructure as code point.
Awesome.
I wouldn't be surprised if Terraform takes the top spot this year. It hasn't in the past, but its retention is a lot higher than CloudFormation. And so it wouldn't surprise me if this might be the year that Terraform takes over as the top spot.
It will if I have anything to do about it.
Right. The only other thing is that the CDK might nudge it out of there if it pushes past. I don't know.
the CDK team and I will have to go at it, and I'll be working with Dave and Spot and the open source team inside that are currently working. Oh, you know what? We could get Bonnigan and Coulter and the rest of them to also fill this out. They would happily try to boost the CDK.
Perfect.
and more numbers is always good. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. What else? What other things have you? Do you want to make some predictions on?
I don't know. OpsWorks reached its end of life, so it's removed. I'll be curious to see where Crossplane falls on this list, whether it's above or below Pulumi. I don't know. What do you think? Do you use any of these others, or you're contractually not allowed to?
I am no. I am not contractually obligated to only use use Terraform. I have been playing with all of them just to see, what they're all about and see what the differences are and everything. I mean, because I have the most exposure to Terraform, that's the one that I'm using as a comparator. So that's the kind of basically the one that I'm familiar with. But I mean, they all have their pros and cons. I'm never going to be like just a hired monkey that says that this is the best for everything, because that's never true.
Right.
I'm an architect before anything, so I'm not going to say that. I think just because of the ubiquity of Terraform, I think you're right, because that's kind of like the de facto non-CSP specific language that people just go to. If they're not being told by their boss, okay, you're in AWS, so use CloudFormation. Okay, you're in Azure, so use Bicep or ARM. Then I think that's kind of like the de facto go-to. Whether or not that changes over time, I am also curious to know. So I'm encouraging as many people to take the survey as possible.
Yeah.
What about from a containers or serverless? Are there any other outliers here, or not outliers, but anything that like super surprised you over the course of the past couple of years?
I think the one that surprised me quite a bit was DynamoDB streams. So under the event-driven architectures, using DynamoDB streams, the retention on that was 100%.
Really?
100% doesn't exist for anything.
Yeah.
But that means that anyone that uses, like, not everyone uses DynamoDB streams, but anyone
those
that
that
did use
do
it
are never going to
100%
not
will use
use
it
it
again.
Right.
Like, no one's like, yeah, I tried it, but it sucked in these ways. Like, everyone loved it, which I thought was, pretty interesting. Under this category, I didn't know that EventBridge and EventBridge pipes were two different things. And so there's a new entry this year for the 2025 survey that has EventBridge pipes. Thorsten suggested I add that. And he's like, this is where AWS is sort of not great at naming things.
Right.
So they're actually two different things.
Since when?
I know. Under the NoSQL DB category, I removed QLDB, which is interesting because I only added it to the survey last year. So it's existed in 1 year cycle, and that's it.
What was
that
QLDB?
got killed? Quantum Ledger Database.
Oh, okay. I remember the name, but I don't. I remember. So was that a discontinued service, or was it just?
It was killed as well. Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Interesting.
And so that got killed. And then what I did add is since Elasticsearch Elasticache is split into Memcache and Redis, I had to add Valkey into this round as well.
Gotcha.
So blockchain for databases just wasn't a thing, huh?
Who could have known? Certainly not the VCs.
Blockchain is so cool on paper. In the real world, I'm probably going to say something spicy right now, but yeah, it seems less cool in the real world unless you are someone who is really, really invested in it financially.
Yeah.
Well, between that and my NFT, something's going to pop. So
yeah. I'm hoping that this year is the year of your bored monkey, Chris. Or your bored ape, or whatever the hell it is.
Let's see, under the serverless category, this year I added serverless .tf and SST into list because they kept getting mentioned in the others multiple years in a row. So I'm like, all right, fine, I'll add those in. I guess one of the interesting things on this section is that folks really like using the CDK to deploy serverless applications. And I guess if you're writing TypeScript for your Lambda functions, you're writing TypeScript for CDK to manage the infrastructure around those Lambdas makes a lot of sense. And so there's a certain amount of familiarity there.
Right.
So I guess that makes sense.
So why is Lambda itself not broken out? 'Cause I see you've got
So
Lambda for
it's not.
containers, which honestly I didn't know you could run containers on Lambda. I mean, it
Yeah,
makes
so
sense that you can, but
this isn't serverless. It's such a loaded term in this particular context. What this is running Lambdas, and it's managing the infrastructure around the Lambda. So that's where sort of one of the first ones to come off the block was a framework called serverless, started by Austin. And so that framework was very largely copied by AWS SAM as AWS's own framework. I don't know what the history or the deal between those two is, but so much of it was copied that it was just almost plagiarism. And so Sam has sort of taken over as one of the leaders in that. But then there's other ways of managing like Lambda applications with Chalice and Lambda, and then serverless TF if you want to write Terraform to manage your Lambda functions. And so this is more about the managing of the framework and the tooling around managing Lambda.
Okay, so folks actually use Lambda to run containers. I'm seeing on the containers side of the 2024 survey.
That's true. You can also, so there's a multitude of way of running containers. I think Corey did 17 ways of running containers and then 17 more ways. I don't have all those broken out, but I have sort of the main ones here to be able to see what folks enjoy using and not enjoy using. And so here is where your Elastic Beanstalk option is, as a way of very easily taking a Docker image and saying, I want to go and run this, something go and run it for me. And so you can do that in ECS or Fargate. You can run Kubernetes in your own data center and like manage it yourself. You can manage it yourself on AWS. You can use EKS. And then there's the other AWS services that have sprung up, like Lightsail and AppRunner, that also help you run containers. And so those newer services, I wasn't sure if any of those would sort of hit the nail on the head and make it all significantly simpler than what it has been in the past. But ECS Fargate seem to be the ones that sort of remain up the top there, which is cool because they're the ones that I also use.
Stephanie is asking, can I take the survey after the meeting? So I'm responding, yes, you can take the survey anytime you want to before February 15th.
That's right. Yeah, so that's the sort of the deal with the containers section. And then in the AI and ML sections, I suspect, so what I had to add this round was GitHub Copilot, accessing Anthropic directly, and then Amazon Q for developer and Amazon Q for business. And the only one I removed that was actually officially killed was Amazon Elastic Inference. But so what I suspect will happen this year is that the usage of a lot of the auxiliary AWS services here will drop, because why do you need to use Comprehend when you've got a whole LLM to understand your docs? Like, why have a standalone service called Comprehend to do that? And it's sort of the same sort of story for translate, transcribe, textract, and recognition. A lot of those like one-off or like specialized services, I don't know how many people are going to keep using those one-off specialized services when you can put it into a multimodal model and get just as good results. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of that dropped.
I'd be curious to know what the cost difference is, though, because if you're using Comprehend or Translator or something like that, that's a much cheaper token. I mean, it's not using tokens, I don't think, but that's a specialized service that is doing something for you. If you're using an LLM, which can do that, but it's like significantly more expensive because your FM is like crazy expensive, or you haven't tuned it properly, then that, I don't know. I'll be curious to see it too. That'll be it'll be interesting to see what happens this year.
Yeah, because you're right. Like you are trading the cost of doing the work for the cost of implementing that specific service rather than one generic one.
Exactly. Yes.
So newer projects will probably just say, I already know like OpenAI, or I'm already using Anthropic's API, whether that's directly or through Bedrock. I know it can do these things. I don't need to like find a specialized service to do that until the CFO realizes and then asks
How much it costs.
cost to come down, which takes years to happen.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I don't know if there'll be any consolidation in this space. It might happen or might not.
So I'm learning that there is a lot of AWS services that I had no idea about.
Oh, are you running the survey right now?
Yes.
When we did every time, so we did it the past 2 years, and it was embarrassing. Chris Williams, AWS hero, going, I have no idea what this is. Are you just making up words, Peter? Is this just like random word generation AWS service?
Right.
Nope, they're actually real genuine services.
Yep.
Had no idea what they were.
Well, do you want to run through the survey? That section's the demographics for who has filled it out in the past.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Let's do it. I have used it. I'm not going to use it again.
I think he's contractually obligated to say yes to Terraform.
No. I hate that you said that out loud, because now I'm sitting here trying to think like, is it? Do I? No. I think I'm giving a right answer, but the fact that I'm actually recording, is that influencing my decision? Am I giving you biased information now, Peter, because of the fact that we're on record right now?
Oh, absolutely.
You know what? I'm
totally gonna tank all of the results.
Yeah, just go with your heart, Chris.
Exactly. And that's the thing about this survey. No survey really has perfect data.
Yeah.
And so,
but if you get enough people, it washes out the
it can be
outliers.
representative, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And in the past, this survey has got over 300 responses and then over 400 responses for the 2023-2024, which, yay, like that's a decent number of people, but it's not many thousands of responses. And those people are from all over the world. They're from all over the spectrum in terms of age and startup size and years of experience. And so even though it's still a relatively small sample size, I still think it's interesting. And looking more at the trends rather than at the raw data, I think it's an interesting data point. If you're using this to make multi-million-dollar decisions, probably you should reevaluate where you're getting your data from. But like it's just another data point out there.
Until this gets bought by RedMonk or Gartner, and then all of a sudden it becomes the de facto analyst tool.
Well, hopefully they'd be able to get more people to respond to this than I would.
Well, we're gonna do our best, as we do every year, to make sure that you do get as many people as we can help out with.
I don't know if you want to nerd out about survey design, but look at how fast you're being able to go through this. And that's, the same pattern in the same style with the icons there, like visual representation. It's single click for each one. Like this was done on purpose to make it as fast as possible.
Oh, am I contractually obligated to say anything about OpenShift yet? Oh, I certainly am curious. I have not heard of it, but I would like to learn. I mean, it's also the fact that this is the third year running that I've been doing it, so I'm kind of I kind of know what I'm getting into here.
So you've used some Valky already?
Played with it, very basically played with it in like demo environments and stuff, but it's seems interesting, and it's not something that I would throw the baby out with the bathwater on. I don't know. I don't know not much about it at all, though. So it's not
Well, I mean, it was forked from an earlier version of Redis, so it really is a
Mhm.
drop-in replacement for Redis. I've converted
Right.
one of my 2 clusters over
Have you
to
really?
using Valkey, and that was a drop-in cost. So I'll do the other one. Well, actually, I'm probably not going to convert the other one. What I'm probably going to do is consolidate, because I don't need to over provision that.
I hadn't even heard of Valkey.
Yeah.
Really?
There was a whole license debacle that happened with Redis Labs.
One of the licensing debacles of 2024.
One of them.
Yeah, some of the folks on the team were giving out Valkey shirts at reInvent.
All right, I'll polish up the rest of this as we go. I don't want us to just
Oh,
everybody.
you're
just
almost at the end.
watch me. Oh, really? Oh, okay. All right.
You've only got 3 more sections to go.
Forecast? I haven't even heard of that yet.
So forecast is I'm sure I used it in a workshop a few years back where you would give it some training data, and then it would be able to then watch a stream of events happening and be able to try and predict what was going to happen on some whatever your training data like metrics were.
Like a forecasting mechanism.
Yeah, you couldn't tell that from the name, but it could be anything because it's AWS that named it, but it actually is. So these 2 questions are completely new category, completely new. So when I was asking some of the other heroes what they wanted to get into the survey, these were the 2 main things that came up. And so
why x86 versus Graviton?
The conversion, migration, whatever you want to call it, from Intel instances to Graviton instances, Amazon have been pushing for a while.
Sure.
And it's pretty much a cost reduction whenever you do it. The main difference is that whatever you're building needs to change from an x86 to an ARM architecture. So there's sometimes some compiled libraries that you need to recompile and things like that. So there's some effort to do, but there's also a lot of cost savings that happen from that. And so some of the other heroes were interested in seeing like how much people have gone through that conversion and enjoying it, not enjoying it, like what's sort of the state there. So I thought I'd collect that, and if the data is interesting, then I'll publish that as well.
Okay, so when you say have you migrated from x86 to Graviton, you're not talking about consumption. You're talking about have you re-architected your software to leverage Graviton versus Intel chipsets?
It doesn't necessarily need to be a re-architecture. So for me, I'm using a interpreted language. I'm using Ruby. And so for me, what I had to do was make sure that the Docker image that I was building was built using ARM architecture as the destination. So none of my code changed. The only thing that changed was my GitHub actions to say, go and build this on ARM rather than on x86. And then the only thing that changed beyond that was my Terraform to say, Fargate, stop using x86, use a Graviton, or use ARM as the instance type. And that's it. The conversion was done. It was actually relatively simple to do. And I was quite surprised at how simple it was to do.
Okay.
So there's no
from my
application change
perspective,
needed for me.
I would say, yes, I prefer Graviton simply because it's a better business decision. It's cheaper and it also consumes less energy. So it's also better for the planet. So I feel better using Graviton. So, okay.
Yeah, all the positive things.
I will say that then. Look at this. Look at all this personal information you're asking me.
You can decline to answer. Every single question in the survey is optional. And so if you don't know it, you can skip entire sections.
No, I wouldn't do that. I want you to have accurate information.
So I was laughing at the how old are you in years, and I was like, as opposed to what, like how old
Months,
do you feel?
weeks.
That's the other thing is that I know this survey gets taken by people that don't have English as their first language. And so and this is some of the things that I was getting from the State of the JavaScript survey and the way it was constructed. They do phrase things more explicitly than you would think would be necessary. And it's trying to account for people that aren't native English speakers, so that they can take the survey and still produce accurate results. So fingers crossed that that's actually helping. If anyone has any suggestions, I am totally open to those. You don't have to put your email on the live stream if you don't want to.
I'm going to stop share while I'm putting my email address in there. Good call, Peter. There we go. And email me when the survey opens again in 2026. Ta-da!
Ta-da! Thank you so much.
One more data point. All right. And for those in the audience, please make sure you're doing it as well. Charlotte said that she's completed hers. Stephanie said that she'd get around to it eventually. Damien's got it knocked out. And you know what? We need to make sure that everybody that is going to see this in the future seat does it. So back to the link again. Answersforaws.com. And then click on the top and hit 2025 and then do the survey before February 15th.
Yes.
2025.
Thank you, 2025.
And then get all your friends and family to take it as well.
Mom,
as long as they've had some AWS experience.
Yes. Shala, your homework is to have grandma do this survey. Okay.
There you go.
Yes.
Grandma's using AWS. We want to have her opinion as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
The wider the demographic, the better.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, Peter, thank you for coming on. Super appreciate you. I know that you need to go run off and do another user group right now.
We're doing the AWS recap. So that'll be fun.
Awesome. Well, everybody, have a wonderful evening, and we will see you again next week. Thanks, Peter. Have a good one, man.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.